Hello, welcome to Thoughts on Tuesday. This is the fourth instalment relating to Lagom Success, and I am going to talk about Lagom but in a different way. So another way of phrasing Lagom would be success without tension, and this was first brought to my attention probably about 14 years ago, and I was working with a client and he told me that I'd won quite a significant piece of work. So much so that I was able to buy my aspirational car outright. It was a really big deal for me. But he said something that really kind of resonated, and he said, look, love, if you want to carry on and be successful in business, then you need to calm down a little bit. And I didn't really know what he meant about that, and I reflected on it some more, and I think what he was saying is that I was a bit intense. And as I thought deeper about it, I realised that actually he's right. I am experiencing tension. For example, I would finish a training session and I'd have to go to bed because I'd be expending so much energy whilst I was presenting. Anyway, back to how this relates to you and how you can resolve tension in your role and achieve more success as a result of getting rid of that tension. So I use a technique called Havening, and like a lot of coaches, you come across lots of techniques throughout your training and qualification journey. So I looked at hypnotherapy, NLP, EFT, and then I came across Havening, and Havening for me just works. I can't argue with the results. It was designed for people with post-traumatic stress disorder, but I tend to use it not for big trauma, but for what we refer to as little traumas. So traumas that are connected with childhood and past, but which are getting in the way of a person's success in business. So to give you a really simple example, let's say you're in a meeting and you're unable to answer a question on the spot. And what you experience is shame, embarrassment, and you feel stupid. So that is an example of where we are emotionally triggered and we're not performing at our best when we're triggered like that. So how do we deal with it? Well, we use Havening to get rid of the source event. So if you're going to use this for yourself, and my intention today is to give you a live demonstration so you can go off and try this stuff out for yourself. So the first step is to actually notice when you've been triggered. So notice when you get that tension in your body, because that will be a clue, or where you're experiencing intense negative emotions. Step 2 is to identify what your earliest memory is of experiencing that either emotion or limiting belief. So the example I used was feeling stupid. And to ask yourself, when was the first time that I felt stupid? Now we're looking ideally age 0 to 7, it's that imprint period. If you can't immediately recall something in that imprint period, push it out to age 0 to 10 and see what you get there, because often once you identify one memory, you can identify others further back in the past, and we want to get to the source of the memory to clear this up completely. So you've identified your trigger, step 1. Step 2, you've identified the memory in your childhood. Step 3, you're going to begin the Havening touch. Now if you want to know more about Havening, go and check out havening.org, and that will provide all the science behind it. So it is really, really simple. You literally rub your hands whilst you're thinking of that childhood event. You can rub shoulder to elbow, or you can rub your face, and any of those Havening touches will work in the same way. So the next step, once you've got the Havening touch going, and you're going to be producing delta waves and serotonin as you do that, you start to think about the memory in detail. Now, you don't want to do this if you are dealing with a real significant trauma. And in fact, I would recommend that you look up a Havening Practitioner for that. But often I find with my business clients is that they don't get fully triggered unless we get into the detail of the memory. So I will often say to them, what is it that you're seeing, hearing and feeling? And so that they really get into the detail of the memory. And once you have done that step, that neural pathway will be live for between 7 and 10 minutes. So you're going to be working on it as you're doing that. So as you've thought about that memory in detail, the next step is to allocate a score. And this is a score of how negative or intense it is. So if 10 is the strongest feeling and 0 is I'm not bothered about this, where are you right now? And trust the first number that pops in your head, because that will usually be the right score. So you continue the Havening touch, you've scored it. What you want to do next is you want to distract yourself, and you can do this. I just watch telly, to be honest. So put the TV on, or you can count something pleasant in your head. So it might be footsteps in the sand, something like that. And you continue the Havening touch, as I say, for up to 10 minutes. And then what you want to do is check in on the score. So that's the next step. Check on the score, having havened, and you'll find that the score will come down with the ultimate aim of getting it down to 0. So you just keep repeating that process until the score gets to 0. And in terms of what you can expect, when you go back into that context, if you've got the source memory, so where this you first experienced, so going back to the example, feeling stupid, you'll find that you'll go back into that context without that tension, without that limiting belief, and you probably won't even notice, actually. You'll just behave differently and you will feel differently. Anyway, hope that's been useful, and see you next Tuesday. Bye.